Alright, welcome back to TEW Impact. We are at week 3 of October. And I must apologize for the wait between episodes. I know I said these episodes are probably going to be a little more infrequent in time, but I was kind of hoping there wouldn't be like multiple weeks in between episodes. It's just bad timing. Um, just summertime, lots of stuff going on, and then we've also been getting some nasty storms. So like the few times I had the time to record, it would just storm. And considering I live in a big metal box, that would probably not be very good for recording. So I took this week off, the holiday week off of work. Partially to get stuff done around the house. I'm not even sure if I'm going to get a lot of that stuff done, but at least I want to get an episode out, maybe get more than one. I don't know. I'm not promising anything, but I definitely wanted to get back into the groove of things. I know we got quite some time till our next pay-per-view, so we're kind of in the lull period of waiting for matches to build up to that. I know we got a few already, but in the meantime, we just need to build, get some matches going, some feuds going, and hopefully get more excited for the pay-per-view. Um, with that said, let's just go ahead and then go to the news. All right. The numbers for last week: BTI TV rating 0.01 as always. Overall rating was a 32, down from a 37, which I believe 37 was our high, if I recall correctly. Like I said, it's been multiple weeks, so my memory is more than hazy. Um, I've also had this week's episode booked in that time, so I'm probably going to end up forgetting some things there. So bear with me for this episode. Just trying to get back in the swing of things. TV rating for Impact last week was 0.35, up from a 0.34, and our overall rating was a 48, which was the same as the week before, which was also our highest rating. So that was our third episode to reach 48. We have not reached higher than that yet, but we are on somewhat of a streak considering, last week's 48, week before was a 48. Hopefully we can maintain. We shall see. Attendance was 327, up from 315. Not a major bump, but up nonetheless. So we got a 0.01 bump from our TV rating, a few um increase in attendance, so at least a little bit more money coming in, and we are maintaining a high overall rating. So on the good side of things right now. Again, momentum. We just got to make sure we maintain it. For Impact News, we have released Davey Richards. We wrote him off last week as, basically the Wolves had served their purpose in that feud. Put the guns over in the end. I did not really see a use for them beyond that. Plus, Davey's also working MLW. We only had him on a handshake deal, so it didn't, you know, cost us anything to release him. Probably going to pivot Eddie Edwards back into a singles, um, and then have the Guns basically run the tag division as it stands now. Joe Doring has relocated to Kanto, Japan, so um, I don't know if that I don't think we cover his travel costs, so booking him hasn't necessarily gotten harder. It's just, his schedule sucks. So I personally don't have any immediate plans for his return. He got the win over Lance Archer at Bound for Glory and ended that feud. And I guess we're kind of gonna leave it at that until I can either uh, find a good idea for him or his schedule clears up. So, PCO has fully recovered from his injury. He had that feud ender with Bound for Glory with Brody King, where he got injured. Using him as a road agent right now. I don't have, and he's set to retire in a few months, so I don't have any immediate plans for him. Probably just maybe a one-off for when he finally does retire. But um, he is cleared to wrestle if we want to bring him back. But like I said, I've been using him as a road agent, so no big deal. We did invest a little bit of money into Impact Plus to increase our coverage in the Oceania regions to tiny. I did this recent or a few months ago or earlier this year at least with India. Hopefully that works out to our advantage, increasing our overall coverage for Impact Plus. I actually do kind of have a storyline reason of doing this, which we will get into later tonight and probably into next week. But yeah, so the Oceania regions, Australia, New Zealand, now able to access Impact Plus. American news overall for WWE, Casey Catanzaro suffered a partial RCL tear at NXT TakeOver. She will be out for a few months. Also at TakeOver, Scott D'Amore defeated Roderick Strong. So our former showrunner defeated the former cruiserweight champion at a pay-per-view. So good for Scott D'Amore, I guess. Shawn Michaels and Adam Pearce have extended their exclusive contracts. AIW, they had a Zero Cool event where Sheamus defeated Eddie Kingston to win the Absolute title, his first reign. Was likely due to Eddie signing his exclusive contract with AEW last week, so Eddie dropping the belt. I assume he has a month or so left for appearances, but Eddie doing the right thing, dropping the belt now. Speaking of leaving, Matt Cardona has officially left AIW due to his exclusive contract with WWE. So Cardona did have some time when he between when he signed his contract and when he had to, I guess, uh, finish up his duties. So Matt Cardona is officially gone from AIW. Speaking of, for Defy, Clark Connors has left Defy due to his exclusive contract with New Japan Strong. So, same situation. And then as for Shine, they have a new TV show on Tuesday afternoons on My Network TV. First episode did a .05 rating, which doesn't seem like a big deal, but considering Shine just recently jumped ahead of us in the local battles, the regional battles, this might be another feather in their cap. Um, I don't know how high of a rating they intend to get. I assume being on Tuesdays afternoons on my network TV, they're not going to get super high ratings, but a TV show is a TV show nonetheless. They've increased their production values to professional, broadcast quality to hired pro, music level to local, and live event experience to small. So they are investing in themselves, getting their production values up, for the show and likely to stay ahead of us and MLW at the least. So we probably have to do more to bump up ahead. We have Shine just ahead of us, or NWA leaping ahead of them. Um, AEW and NXT to deal with. I don't know if AEW is still in our regional battle, but that's another thing entirely. Um, American news continued. These are mostly deals, extensions, or new deals, like Nettie Neidhart accepting a handshake deal with Shimmer. She was released from WWE a week or two ago. Mae Valentine extended her handshake deal with the NWA. Marshall Von Erich extended his handshake deal with MLW. And the One Called Manders and Alex Clone have left GCW. I believe I mentioned that they turned in their notice a month ago, but now they are officially gone from GCW. Japan and British news I lumped together for Noah. Eita won the vacant GHC junior heavyweight title by defeating Dan Tamura. For his first reign with the title was vacated by Nosawa after suffering a torn rotator cuff earlier in the week that'll put him out for over 2 months. So I didn't even know this injury happened, let alone it was enough for Nosawa to vacate the title, considering there are other titles that have just been held and not defended like since the beginning of this game and before um the beginning of this game took place. So I didn't even know this happened until it popped up. So yeah, Nosawa got injured and that was enough for him to um vacate the title. I know uh Kairi Hojo won and won a title and injured at the beginning of the year and had to vacate that, but she was out for like 6 months. So I didn't know 2 months was enough for someone to vacate a title. But anyway, for Big Japan, Shima and Kazuki Hashimoto won the Saikyo Tag League, defeating Moon Vulcan of Yasufumi Nakanoe and Orka Uto in the finals. For 0-1, Yumihito Imanari defeated Masashi Takeda to win the Intercontinental Junior Heavyweight title, his first reign with that belt. And then for Progress, they have joined the Union of European Wrestling Alliance along with Italian Championship Wrestling, who I'm very unfamiliar with, but Progress somewhat, I guess, trying to, bolster their I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying, but yeah, Progress joining an alliance. I believe those are the only two people in that alert, the only two promotions in that alliance. So maybe they'll add more. Who knows? Mexican news for AAA. La Chick Tormenta has left. I believe I mentioned that along with the GCW people leaving. They put in their month's notice. I believe La Chick Tormenta put in her notice while she was injured. I don't know if she's still injured, but she is gone from AAA. CMLL Shocker won the NWA World Historic Light Heavyweight Championship, his second reign with that title by defeating Euphoria, Nitro, and Guerrero Maya Jr. at the Lucha Azteca show. Um, I looked up Shocker recently, and because when he popped up his the wrestler picture that they used in the game for this pack, he looked kind of haggard. I looked him up and he's not doing so good lately, but at least in this game he's kind of back on his feet. Um yeah, I don't I don't really know what to say about that. For IWRG they had a Callisto or Castillo del Terror event for a few title changes. Dragon Bane defeating Supernova to win the Intercontinental Lightweight title, his first reign, and then Puma King and the Saints of Twilight of Relampago and Capo del Sur defeated Archangel Divino and the new element of Estrella Divina and Emperador Azteca to win the Intercontinental Trios title at that same event, their first reign with those belts. Retirements and Hall of Immortals. Announced for retirements in the near future: Terry Taylor, Austin Idol, Johnny Kidd, Dan Severn, and Mr. Hughes. Officially retired now: Tracy Brooks, Haku, ODB, who we booked recently on pay per view to put over Viper, Naoya Ogawa, and Short Sleeve Samson. And then Bully Ray has joined the Hall of Immortals. And then we have our Before the Impact episode of this week, opening up with Quinn McKay defeating former stablemate Roxy. The Positivity team had to break up after losing to the Nasty Women's Assassins. Quinn McKay continuing with the under the guidance of former Knockouts champion Taylor Wilde as her manager. Uh, Gets the win and they celebrate afterwards. We get a promo from Brian Myers and the Learning Tree, mostly Brian ragging down the Learning Tree, VSK and Avery Good, not on the greatest of records right now. Um, if my memory serves me correctly, which I doubt it does, I think they lost a match on Before the Impact last week, and Myers is not taking that well. He's like running them down. He's like, I don't know what else to do with you guys anymore. Like I don't know if it's my training, if my training's not enough, or what. But I'm giving you guys one more chance to prove yourselves worthy of continuing to be my pupils. So next week you have a match on Before the Impact, and if you are not able to win next week, then I'm probably going to have to bring in someone else to whip you guys in shape. So if you're gonna have to prove to me that my training has helped you guys and benefited you, and if it hasn't, then I guess things are gonna have to change around here. So Myers hopefully firing up the Learning Tree for their match next week. We shall see about that. We get a promo. I don't necessarily know what's an angle, but it's mostly a promo from Mad Dog Diener speaking for Max the Impaler. Max is in the background mostly grunting, and Diener is talking about how Max interfered last week in the match between Killer Kelly and Rachel Ellering. Two knockouts with something to prove. They want to prove their strength, prove that they still belong here. But after Max uh, losing, I don't know, she didn't lose or they didn't lose. I guess they did. It was a DQ loss to Zhao at for the digital media title, but uh Mad Dog Diener basically putting down the challenge for next week. If they want to prove themselves, they're gonna have to prove themselves to Max in a three-way match next week at Before the Impact. So Max the Impaler versus Killer Kelly versus Rachel Ellering in a three-way match next week on Before the Impact. And then in a match where I wasn't really thinking, and this ended up being way too good for Before the Impact, W. Morrissey defeating Rich Swann. Morrissey going on his own from here on out. Rich Swann hoping to get back on track under the managerial services of Susan. This does not work this time. I believe Susan's interference backfires, allowing Rich Swann to get pinned by W. Morrissey. After that match, we go backstage, and it's the team of Raj Singh, Mahabali Shera, and Falaba. They're kind of just hanging out, kind of half-ass watching the show on a monitor and not necessarily paying attention, but talking amongst themselves when Enlightened Steve bursts into their locker room and he's wearing his wannabe cult leader get up. This might be an obscure reference to some of you, but I kind of imagine Steve in his new enlightened form. If you've ever seen the Mystery Science Theater episode of Side Hackers, the bad guy JC, where he's kind of like running this biker gang, but he's like prone to outbursts and he's mostly self-centered. And so basically, Steve kind of like pretending that he's running this own cult um, of enlightenment, and these other guys are just kind of along for the ride. But anyway, Steve comes in and he's like, I look around and I see power. I see an army, but just like any army, there, you can always add more firepower. An army can always be stronger. And he looks at the monitor and he sees Morrissey celebrating his win. He's like, he points at the monitor. He's like, I want him. I want Morrissey, and I want him on our side in our army. And you guys are going to help me do that. And that's basically how Before the Impact ends. So that'll be a story for later. Overall rating of 38, which might be a new high. I know 37 or a week before last. That might have been our high. I don't really remember. But thanks to Morrissey and Rich Swan getting a match rating that I did not think would be that high. Um, Helped us out. So I believe that's it. Let us go to Impact. All right, so we start off Impact with a match that I originally didn't have booked, but kind of worked itself out. Um, Partially due to an angle later on in the show. But Buddy Matthews defeating Alex Zane to open up Impact. Um, by submission. I don't know what his submission would be, but I set this as a high spots match. Alex Zane on somewhat of a roll since his debut and his joining of Swingers Palace, but um that is not the case tonight. Buddy Matthews with the experience advantage, um, getting the win here tonight. Performance of 44. Alex Zane with a performance of 40 with a segment rating of 43. So we're starting off Impact strong, as strong as we can. Um, yep, high spots. So yeah, Zicky Dice and Johnny Swinger were at ringside, but non-factors. Buddy Matthews was able to get the win over Swinger Palace's Alex Zane. And then after the match, and into the next match, we see that the X Division champion Swerve Strickland is in attendance, watching these matches and at least taking somewhat notes, maybe some mental notes, doing some sort of scouting. He was approached last week by Petey Williams with the idea of a World X Cup. So likely out there trying to scout possible teammates, possible opponents. We'll see about that in the future, but this is basically getting Swerve on the show. Didn't have a spot for him, but with him likely uh, involved in the World X Cup, considering he is the X Division champion, definitely wanting to factor him in. Segment rating of 34 for that. And then in the following match, Willie Mack was somewhat of an upset defeating Ace Austin. Austin not necessarily on a roll. He had lost his briefcase for the world title shot last week, or not last week, at the last pay per view. Last week he lost to Mascara Dorada. Um, all due to Madman Fulton accidentally hitting Austin, botching interference, what have you. Willie Mack able to capitalize with a chocolate thunder bomb with the win. Segment rating of 37. Austin seemed off his game. And then after the match, Willie celebrates his way to the back. Austin and Fulton remain in the ring. Fulton apologizing profusely when Austin grabs the microphone, and Austin's like, it's been a long road for us. You've been by my side for like over a year now, and these last couple weeks haven't exactly worked out, have they? And Fulton's like, I'm sorry, I'll do better. And it's like, no, you cost me my world title shot, and I've been on a downward spiral ever since, and this is all your fault. So consider our business situation, if you will, um, terminated, and out comes Lance Archer, which we'll do in the next segment. Lance Archer comes out, slides into the ring, lays out Madman Fulton from behind. It's 2-on-1 beating. Archer eventually laying out Fulton with a choke slam of some sort and a 2-on-1 attack. And Austin takes the microphone back and says, "Consider yourself replaced. I am associating myself now with the Murder Hawk monster, Lance Archer. All this time you've claimed to be a monster, but you're no match for someone like Lance Archer. You have not been able to prove yourself, and now I'm with Lance Archer." Something to the effect. So segment rating of 35. This will turn Madman Fulton face. Turn was a success. Yeah, I wasn't sure whether to turn Fulton face. This is mostly just a way to break Austin away from Fulton. Finally, after like almost a year, or at least over a year of them being associated, um, Austin now associating himself with Lance Archer. They did tag up like a few shows ago and had pretty good chemistry, so I'm going to run with them as a unit. As for Fulton, I don't really know. He can just kind of fade away for all I care. So this might be a face turn, but I don't know if we're gonna actually do anything with the face turn. This is more a way to break Fulton or Austin away from Fulton and onto someone somewhat more successful like Lance Archer. So Archer and Austin as a new unit going forward. Segment rating of 35 for that. We go to a promo from Homicide. Homicide talking about how he had to miss last week's show due to some personal matters, and that resulted in Colby Carino and his crusade laying out Hernandez. Homicide not there to watch his guys back. Therefore, Hernandez is on the shelf. He doesn't know if or when he'll ever come back, and Homicide blames himself. But he knows that Colby Carino and his crew have some serious hell coming their way, and he's going to bring it to them. He's going to run through Colby's whole crew if he has to, and Homicide just basically laying down an informal challenge of sorts that he's basically going to take all of them on by himself without the help of Hernandez. So segment rating of 25 for that, losing heat for the storyline. Um, And then we go backstage elsewhere. Gia Miller is interviewing the Knockouts Tag Team Champions, the BFFs, Chelsea Green and Deanna Prazo. Gia's talking about the next match, or the match coming up next on Impact. It's the Inspiration versus Tennille and Viper, and she has to believe that whoever gets the win in that match has to be in Knockouts title contention. And the BFFs start mocking her, it's like, "Oh, you believe that? You definitely you believe that whoever's gonna win the match, is gonna come after us." And then they're like, "Who cares, really?" Um, we've been wanting to be done with Tennille for months, for weeks and months, and now she's finally out of her hair. And if she thinks she can come after our titles just because she has someone big and bad watching her back, you know, she's got another thing coming. And the Inspiration, you know, they've been done with the Inspiration. How many shots are they going to get at their titles? They don't need any more title shots. So basically, they're making fun of Gia and stating their dominance, and that whoever does decide to come after their titles, whoever that may be, probably will not have a chance of taking it from them. So, segment rating of 30 with that promo. And then we get the Inspiration versus Tennille Dashwood and Viper, which goes to a double count out. I want basically what happens is Savannah Evans and Janai Kai of the Nasty Women Assassins come in and attack both teams. So this basically goes to a no contest, a double draw, no winner, because Savannah Evans and Janai Kai run in and attack all four women. Uh, Segment rating of 37. So no real resolution in this fight. Tennille probably wanting to show dominance over her former friends with her new friend, her new backup, but the whole thing being spoiled by Savannah Evans and Janai Kai. So we'll see what comes out of that. Segment rating of 37 for that match. We go backstage where Buddy Matthews is cooling down from his match when he's approached by Petey Williams, much like when Petey approached Swerve last week. Petey's like, "Hey, good job out there, tonight. Had a hell of a match, and I know you probably know why I'm here. I know you probably heard the rumors. I'm going around. I'm trying to gauge interest for bringing the World X Cup back, and you know what? I've heard Impact Plus, they're going to be, showing in Australia, in New Zealand, in your, neck of the woods. Uh, so, and as far as I know, there's there hasn't ever been a Team Australia in the World X Cup. You would be the first. So, think about it. I'll keep talking. I'll keep talking to people. And, I just want to let you know that, you know, if there's anyone I want in this World X Cup, especially as a first time team, it's going to be you guys. So Petey's basically like hyping Buddy up for the possibility of entering the World X Cup. Segment rating of 34, losing heat for that storyline. Um, we go elsewhere backstage to the Maria Kanellis personal locker room, where it's Maria Kanellis once again talking before Black Taurus, Matthew Raywalt, and Steve Macklin. And they're talking about the match last week, the six-man tag, where they lost to Dalton Castle, Juice Robinson, Jonathan Gresham. Maria's like, you know what? I thought a win last week would cheer up my husband, would cheer up Mike Bennett into coming back, but you guys couldn't get it done. But you know what? That's going to be okay because I know if you guys are to cheer up my husband back home, you guys got to be ready yourselves. You guys got to be cheered up. You guys got to be motivated. So I brought in a couple people to help out with that. And in comes Joe Hendry and Nick Stat. They wheel in one of those old school like TV cart deals that you had in school. Uh, and they're like, "How you guys doing today?" And they're trying to motivate the crew, and they're not having it. And Joe Hendry's like, I'm here to motivate you. I'm here to get you guys to believe in Joe Hendry. Give a crap about Nick Stapp. And I put together a special video to help out with that. And this is basically Joe Hendry, one of Joe Hendry's typical funny music videos. And he talks about how uh, you don't have to be a drama king like Matthew Raywell. You don't have to put up with the bull like Black Taurus. You don't have to be a disgruntled Marine or whatever Steve Macklin is. It's like they're like all you got to do is believe in Joe Hendry, give a crap about Nick Stapp, believe in yourselves, and you can do anything. And they end up the video, and they look to the guys. All three of them start to stand up, start to get closer, start closing in on Hendry and Stapp, and start beating them down. 3-on-2. There's no chance. They knock the TV over. After they're done, Raywalt, Macklin, Toulouse kind of look to themselves, and Macklin's like, I don't know about you, but I feel a lot better. So getting that out of their system, beating down Joe Hendry and Nick Stapp might have done the trick to, motivate them a bit more. Not in the uh, way that Hendry and Stapp might have hoped, but maybe in the way that Maria Kanellis might have hoped. So either way, her goal has been achieved. So they're back to being at least a little bit motivated, at least this week. Segment rating of 30. We got a storyline starting, but it's already losing heat, so we'll see how that ends up working out. All right, and then we go yet elsewhere backstage where the winners of that six-man tag from last week, Juice Robinson, Dalton Castle, Jonathan Gresham, are talking amongst themselves. Mostly it's Juice talking at Dalton and Gresham. And Juice is like all hyped up. He's like, "Yeah, we won. The three of us, we made a good team. So how about it? How about we all roll together as one crew? You know, who knows what we can do together?" And immediately Dalton Castle like, "Nope, I told you. You know, you had been asking, and I told you. I only have one crew. That's me and my boys. That's all I need. And I don't necessarily need you tagging around." And Juice is like, "All right, all right." And then he turns to Gresham. He's like, "Well, about you? You and I, we could be a tag team. We can, who knows what we could do." And Gresham's like, I don't, you're just not, you're just not my type, I guess. I'm trying to go out there by myself, trying to, be the best technical wrestler I can be, and I don't know what your deal even is, but I don't think we're gonna vibe very well. And Juice is just kind of like throwing a mini tantrum, like, "Well, damn it, I need to do something here." And eventually, D'Lo Brown walks up. They all congratulate D'Lo for winning his match, his impromptu match at Bound for Glory, and D'Lo's like, "Yeah, well, thanks, but it's not about me. It's not about me. It's about guys like you." And I'm looking at you guys, all three of you. You guys all got something going. You guys won last week. You guys are on a roll, but that doesn't necessarily mean you guys need to do it together. I look at the three of you, and any one of you, you're just you're all former champions of some sort. You're all on that cusp of hitting the next level, breaking through to, the other side. Like I've been most of my career, I've been sitting there at the cusp of greatness and never quite broken through. But give that guys, I want to give that chance to you guys. So what I'm gonna do next week, you three face each other in a three-way, and whoever comes out of that match, I'll see what I can do about getting you some kind of title opportunity. All right? And they all kind of look at each other like, all right, that sounds, they've kind of been given the rah rah speech by D'Lo, and they're like, "Oh, that sounds pretty cool." You know, whoever wins, getting some sort of title opportunity in the future. That's just what they need here in Impact to, establish themselves. Uh, you know, Maybe get away from, Dalton and Gresham having being champions in Ring of Honor, Juice having been, you know, in New Japan this whole time and coming back to Impact on his own, without uh David Finlay at his side. So, it's this is just a chance, one of them needs to, break through to the other side, get some sort of title here in Impact, and we'll see how that factors next week. But now, segment rating of 38 for that segment. All right, and then we get Mance Warner versus Brody King. I think I might have had this as a wild brawl. Yeah, I did. Um, so these two guys, big brawlers. Um, Interesting to see what would happen, but in the end, it's Brody King beating Mance Warner due to some interference from Chuckie T. So things are fairly even until Chuckie T strolls his way out to the ring, gets the or gets the it's more of a distraction for Mance Warner. Mance Warner sees Chuckie T, um, and that's enough for Brody to kind of like squish him in the corner and finish him off once and for all. Just the presence of Chuckie T getting Mance Warner off his game, allowing Brody King to win the match. Segment rating of 45 for that match. Brody with a performance of 46, Mance with 42. So Brody getting the upper hand, getting continuing his momentum after defeating PCO or Monsters Brawl at Bound for Glory. Um, so yeah, then we get a promo from Eddie Edwards, and he talks about the shock about Davey Richards leaving last week. It was something that came out of nowhere. He knew that he brought when he brought Davey in, he knew it was a limited time thing, but the run that they went on, they got the titles for a record time. That he thought that could have uh maybe added some time to the run. Maybe he deluded himself. Maybe he just got too excited. Uh, but I guess this whole time Davey just had his own plan that when they lost the belts, they were done, that he was done. He was just going to go back to being the lone wolf that he is. And, you know, Davey's his brother. He can respect that. So, what does that mean for Eddie Edwards going here on out? He's back to being by himself again. No more wolves. And he thinks about it, and he thought about it, and really the only thing he could do is to go back after that Impact World Championship. Christian Cage has it. Josh Alexander had it for most of the year. He was maybe, he proved himself as one of the great tag teams of Impact history. Now it's time for Eddie to prove himself as one of the great singles in Impact history, and the way to do that is to regain that Impact World title. So this is him throwing his hat in the ring, so to speak, and announcing his bid for the world title. Segment rating of 53 for that promo. All right, so then we come back. Mance Warner is making his way to backstage after losing to Brody King. He's kind of recovered, shaking the cobwebs out after that loss to Brody King. He makes his way to the locker room and he's shouting for Danhausen. He's like, "Hey, Danhausen, I could have used, where were you at? I could have used your help out there, man. Like, especially after Chuckie T came out. I could have had used someone watching my back. Where were you?" And he finally, when he walks into the locker room, he sees Danhausen laid out on the floor. Mance goes to help him up. Danhausen's very woozy. And Mance is like, "What happened?" Danhausen's like, "Ah, someone cursed me from behind and I got hit with something heavy and I fell asleep and I missed your match. How did you go? Did you win?" And Mance Warren's like, "No, I didn't win, man." And he's like, "What happened? Like, you got knocked out?" Said you got looked out, you got knocked out by something heavy. And he's looking around. He's like, "Hey, man, where's your briefcase? Someone's got your briefcase, man." I'm like, "What happened?" And Danhausen's like, "My briefcase, my title shot, whatever." And they're so Danhausen's X Division title shot briefcase is gone. He got knocked out with it by who? They You could probably guess it was by Chuckie T. Danhausen just like, that Chuckie T, that he knocked me out, took my title shot, and uh, so yeah, they're just kind of recovering, and it doesn't look good for them. Mance, just lost a match by Chuckie T, and Danhausen's X Division title shot's been stolen, so things aren't looking good for them. So segment rating of 36 for that. We get a interview with Gia Miller, more of a sit down interview, and she's interviewing Mike Bailey. This is probably like a pre-taped uh talk show, like sit down talk show type thing. Um, she's interviewing Speedball Mike Bailey, and she talks about the bombshell laid last week where after Bound for Glory, Mike Bailey having won the world title shot briefcase from Ace Austin, he cashed it in almost instantly once he saw that Christian Cage had won the world title shot under dubious means. and Mike Bailey dropping that bombshell last week on Impact to his friend and former champion Josh Alexander. And she wants to get to the bottom. She's like, "Well, you had to have known that, cashing it in before he has a chance, Josh had a chance to get his rematch probably would have made him mad." And Bailey's like, "Well, at first I didn't think about that. I just saw, Christian did what he did. you know, Josh stormed out, and I felt like the only way to make things right was if I cashed in. I had that chance. I had that chance to help out my friend. I had that world title shot. I cashed it in, and I fully intend on doing the right thing and beating Christian Cage for that title at a turning point." And eventually, Christian Cage interrupts the whole thing. He's like, "Oh, well, isn't this cute? Whatever." And he eventually sits down next to Mike Bailey and kind of like commandeers the interview. And Christian's just talking about, "You know what you did, I like what you did. Even though you cashed a title shot in on me, I like what you did. That shows initiative. That shows, the cutthroat things that you have to do to get ahead in this business." And Mike Bailey's like, I didn't do it to, get one over on my friend. I did it, for him." And Christian's like, "Oh, that's cute. That's cute." It's like, you know what? You remind me a lot of me. You know, Years ago when I broke into this business, everyone, I hung out with a guy that people thought were like, well, we were like brothers. We did everything together, but eventually people thought I was in his shadow. And eventually I had to go and I had to do things. I had to break out of his shadow and be out on my own. And look at me now, multi-time world champion, current world champion, Hall of Famer. You know, these are things that you can do too. You just have to have that, you just have to do the things that, to, if you have to piss off Josh Alexander to do them, go ahead and do them because, eventually you'll be out on your own, you'll break out of his shadow, and you'll be, like someone, you know, you'll be a world champion someday. You'll be the greatest, and you'll surpass Josh's Alexander's wildest dreams and your own and all that. And Bailey, this is like pissing Bailey off, and Bailey's like, I didn't do it for that. I did it for my friend." And Christian's like, "Oh, that's cute, whatever," and basically just brushes him off. He's like, you know, you'll be world champion someday, and I can help you out with that. I mean, you have no chance of defeating me at Turning Point to be world champion now, but down the road, you know, under the tutelage of someone like me, I can get you there someday. Josh, I don't think he's all about himself, and he's dictated by his own emotion. Me, I can help you out. I can help you out more than Josh ever could. I know, but like as far as you beating me at Turning Point, you have no chance. But down the road, I can help you break out. I've done it before. I can do it with you. So, anytime you want to take things seriously, get a hold of me. So, Christian just basically dropping in, sowing more of those seeds of dissension between Bailey and Josh Alexander. Segment rating of 37. I was hoping Christian's presence would bump this up a bit more, and he did. I don't remember. I think this might still be a glitch thing of not setting the script because I'm pretty sure I had them both scripted. But Christian Cage did well, Mike Bailey did not, so that probably knocked down the segment rating. Um, but we are continuing the world title storyline. We are building towards Christian Cage versus Mike Bailey at Turning Point, and sowing the seeds for dissension, possibly between Bailey and Josh Alexander. And then in the match, we get Slater and Rhino, or Heath, Heath and Rhino defeating the Hold. of Eric Young and Damien O'Connor. Rhino pinning Eric Young with a gore, so they've had their uh, own issues, um, backing up Jake Something when Jake Something had his issues with Eric Young. So this is kind of the final page in that battle, and Rhino getting the clean win over Eric Young. Uh, Heath and Rhino on somewhat of a roll. Heath winning that pick your shot tag team title gauntlet at Bound for Glory, earning them a title shot, and then them finally finalizing things with Eric Young. Um, so they are doing fairly well. Segment rating of 46. Damien O'Connor with a 54. So don't know if I want to break Damian Connor off of Eric Young. Probably should. He's only got a 31. Rhino had a 45. Heath had a 35. But Damian doing pretty well for himself. I might. It's tempting to break them apart, but if I did that, I don't necessarily know what I would do with Eric Young. So we'll see about that. And then we go backstage where the tag team champions, Morrissey Machine Guns, Alex Selly, Chris Sabin, watching that match, and they're kind of clapping to themselves. They're, oh, they recognize from last week where they respect Rhino as a not only as a Detroit guy but as a longtime Impact mainstay, if you will. But don't necessarily trust Heath. But they're just kind of like soft clapping, like, oh, good for them, they win, they won. I don't know if they don't think they're in our league, but maybe they'll do well for themselves, and they're just kind of talking amongst themselves, like maybe we should go out there and congratulate them or something. And eventually, Jake Something walks up to them, wraps his both arms around their shoulders. He's like, "Oh, you want to go congratulate them, huh? You sure you don't have plans to do anything else?" And they're like, "No, no, no, not really." And they're like, "You know what? They're my friends. I'll just make sure, you stay here. I'll just send the message of congratulations on to them. You don't need to do anything. You know, real friends stick together, all that stuff like that." And basically, Jake Something's kind of like intimidating the Guns into backing off of whatever they had planned to do to them tonight. Um, so Jake just kind of like pats him on the back, like, "Yep, good talk. I'll make sure to send the message to Heath and Rhino. So good talk, guys. See you guys later." And Guns are just kind of like dejected a little bit, but segment rating of 45 for that, just something to keep the Guns on TV. All right, and then we get a promo from Josh Alexander where Josh talks about having watched that interview between Gia Miller and Mike Bailey where Christian Cage interrupted and said what he had to say. And Josh is like, "Christian, I know what you're trying to do. I know you've had years more experience than Mike Bailey or even me. I know you've been in this business longer, way longer than either of us have, but I can see what you're trying to do. And it's not going to work because our friendship, my friendship with Mike Bailey, we've been friends for years. Nothing's going to come between it, not even the world title. I'm stepping aside, letting him make his choice, and I have faith that he can beat you at Turning Point. But if you're trying to turn Mike Bailey against me and turn our friendship against, each other, it's not going to work. Our friendship's stronger than that. So you can try all you want, but it's not going to work. Sooner or later, whether it's Mike, whether it's me, someone's going to take that Impact World title from you. And basically, that's how it ends. Gaining heat for the storyline, which is good. A segment rating of 45 for the promo. Rosemary elsewhere cutting a promo more about the match, which is coming up next, and the main event for tonight. Jordan Grace versus Bianca Blair's debut match uh, for a knockouts title shot. Rosemary just kind of talking about how, we have Jordan Grace, an established gladiator in Impact, and Bianca Blair. It is her first appearance in her first match in Impact is, going to be a big one. I don't really have this one planned, but basically, Rosemary hyping up the main event, which is up next, and probably going to determine who her opponent will be at Turning Point for the Knockouts title. Segment rating of 44 for that. We go and shit. Well, much like the tag title uh or not the tag title match, but the earlier tag match between the Inspiration and Tennille and Viper. This also goes to a draw, a double disqualification. Basically the ref throws it out because Mercedes Martinez, and it's not listed here, but Mercedes Martinez and um Tasha Steeles both run in and attack both Bianca Blair and Jordan Grace after a hard fought match, 15 minutes. Um, but it's ruined, spoiled by Mercedes Martinez and Tasha Steeles interfering, attacking both women, um, throwing the match out. So no contender for uh, the Knockouts Championship as of yet. Segment rating of 32. The big news here: Jordan Grace suffering a torn abdominal muscle. So I don't know how long that'll put her out for. Um, Bianca with a performance of 39, Grace with a performance of 31. Storyline losing heat, but segment rating of 32. Did I have this as like steal the show? Yeah, steal the show because I as why is Tasha Steele's interference not listed here? Tasha Steele's interference should be I had Jordan Grace attacked by Mercedes Martinez and Bianca Blair attacked by Tasha Steeles. So yeah, multiple things have gone wrong, but this big one, torn abdominal muscle, that could be huge. This might be something we can work around, but yeah, I kind of had Jordan Grace figured into this whole knockouts title match, at least seen. Even though there's no winner here. Segment rating is 32, but we'll continue. Yeah, Jordan Grace. Thanks, Gail. Basically, we end the show with Gail Kim bringing out security to stop Tasha and Mercedes Martinez from beating down Bianca Blair and Jordan Grace. Um, and basically, Mercedes getting in Gail Kim's face and well Tasha by extension, but Mercedes doing a lot of the yelling. There's Tasha like yelling and pointing at Tasha, and Tasha's like, you're gonna exclude her. This is her time now." So basically, them coming out, ruining the main event, ruining a possible crowning of a number one um contender for the Knockouts title to insert herself into the running. So that's how we end the show. Segment rating of 40 for that. 41 for overall. Lost his popularity in two regions and increased in 41. So I assume that's a drop. I think, well, we were getting 48s the last couple weeks. So yeah, we did drop a bit. Um, 46 for the tag match. Yeah, the tag match would probably be our biggest match. And then Eddie Edwards' promo segment of the night. So, yeah, we are getting closer to turning point. I think I'm actually going to jump ahead and see how long Jordan Grace will be out for. So hang on, we will be right back. All right, so Jordan Grace's torn abdominal muscle will be out, put her out for 47 days. I assume she will not be able to work Um, that is a bummer, but I think we might be able to work around it. Um, for a lot of my angles, I try to book them through to the pay-per-view on paper as much as I can. I think this Knockouts title program that I wanted to do was pretty much booked out that far. So that's going to have to be overhauled a bit, but I think we will probably, because basically what I wanted to do is basically have Jordan Grace, Bianca Blair, and Tasha Steeles in the contention and determine who faces Rosemary at the pay-per-view. I think I can change that to just Bianca and Tasha. Um and then put off Jordan Grace to later. That's probably what I'm gonna have to do. Um so yeah, we might be I'm not freaking out just yet. This might be doable. Yeah, out of action, returning in 46 days. So yeah. So Jordan Grace out for us for 36 days. That might put her out. Well, I'm trying to think. Hopefully that doesn't put her out till December. Um, it'll put her out for at least week 3 of November. She might be back in time for the December pay-per-view. Maybe. I don't know. That's something I'm gonna have to work out. But regardless, Jordan Grace injured. Will be out for at least the next month plus. So we'll just have to deal. So yeah. Thanks for watching. Sorry, it kind of ended on somewhat of a downer note, but we will persevere. We will overcome. We will rebook. This is what this is what we do. We we run with the changes that we have to make. You know, that's what booking's all about. So yeah. Thanks for watching. I will try to keep bringing out episodes sooner rather than later. So we'll see. Yeah. Tune in next time. Thanks for watching.